Hey, how's it going? Good morning and good afternoon to those of you in Europe. It's good to see you. Uh, Prodigal, how's it going, man? I have the low latency enabled, so there may be a well, hopefully not as much of a delay between what I see and what you guys hear. So we'll have to test that out. Let me know if the audio or the video quality suffers as a result. Um, yeah, sitting sideways. Good day to you as well. Welcome to the stream. So I haven't done one of these in a couple months, and I'm testing out new technology. So you guys will have to bear with me and let me know if things are coming through okay. I've got camera one, which is my iPhone continuity camera, and then I've got camera two, which was my MacBook Pro webcam, and I've got my Stream Deck going with Ecamm. Um, and let's see. And Prodigal, can you confirm? Do you see? Hey, Carolyn, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you for confirming. Prodigal, can I on my end, I still see your comment on the screen from our test yesterday. So I'm curious if that's coming through on your end. Um, but yeah, let me add a new one. There we go. So I'm gonna add that one. Remove. Okay, cool. So I got the comments. Yeah, kind of weird, right? Like I don't know why it carried over from yesterday's stream, but morning. Jordan, is that you? Long time no talk. I hope you're doing well. A little blast from the past. Jordan's been around since I started my channel last July. So good to see you. Cool. Uh hey Bill, welcome. Greetings from Australia. Gosh, what time is it for you? Good to see you on. So, a lot of you guys are in Europe, so it's afternoon for you. So it's good to have you spending some time with me today. I thought I would just do a live stream where pretty informal and just if there's any questions anyone out there has as it relates to starting a YouTube channel because that's what I've been working on aggressively for the last 9 months, especially if you're midlife or older and you're considering starting a YouTube channel and maybe you don't know how to get started or what to think about or what to work on. I thought I would just broadcast and answer questions if people have questions or maybe just share a little bit about my experience. So, yeah, just ask away in the chat. So whatever questions are on your mind, I'll try to tackle them as best as I can, and I will also lean on my gracious community members who are showing up. Hey, Ellen, how are you? Because they are also hard at work at building a YouTube channel, and a lot of these folks are smarter than I am, and so I lean on them as well. So, dang, Bill, so it's after midnight for you. Gosh, okay. Well, thank you for hanging out and spending spending some time. Prodigal's asking where my goat hat is. Here's the goat hat. I'm not wearing it, obviously. I was thinking about it, but I thought I might comb my hair and try to look presentable for today's stream. So, um, Uzman is asking if he can edit my videos. So what are you trying to tell me, Uzman? Are my videos not well edited? I'm sensing a little shade being thrown here. Um, but I'm kidding. I'm actually not at a point quite yet where I can outsource my editing. I need to start making a little bit of money first, but we'll see. If I can start breaking even on my monthly expenses and my monthly income, then the first thing I will outsource is my video editing, I think. So, but thank you for asking and opting in. Um, so yeah, so sitting sideways is asking. Let me add to broadcast. And let me know if you can see this. Let me try and resize it. Can you guys see that loud and clear? I pulled up the comment. So you've started a YouTube channel, the X podcast based on women's basketball. Right now it's faceless. It allows me to work on the content at whatever time and place. Um, you feel like you could be getting more traction though. Yeah, so great question. And faceless, I'm imagining it's a lot of AI stuff that you're using. I don't have any experience with that. I will say though, it is definitely an emerging trend on YouTube, and I think there are some valuable ways of using AI in the faceless in the faceless channel space. But I would not want to give you too much direction on that because I don't have any experience with it. But I guess what I would tell you is, to the extent that you can, try to emulate whatever success you're seeing from your competitors or other people who are doing that same thing in your either in your niche or adjacent to your niche, and try to take some cues from them. The challenge, though, is that I think it's a very popular space to be now. A lot of people are working on faceless AI automation channels, and yeah, there's a lot of competition out there now. So that's about as much as I can tell you on that topic, but thank you for the question. Bill is suggesting that I wear 2 hats. Hmm. Yeah. I have 2 hats, Bill. So here's hat number 1 is the goat hat, and hat number 2 is this gray one that I don't know if I don't know if I've worn this in a video before, but this is another hat that I've had for a long time. It's actually from New Zealand, that hat. So we got Carolyn here from France. We got Ellen from Boston, or the Boston area, I should say. Um, Bill, where did you say you were from? Australia. So it's 12:30 in the morning for you. We got Don, who's out in, I guess you're outside of London, right? Don, I don't know how far outside of London. Um, oh, no worries, sitting. So yeah, for your, most people show their faces, and it feels like that there aren't that many people doing faceless women's basketball. I guess what you could do is, for the women's basketball channels that you do see, what are what are some of the trending or popular topics that people are talking about? Because that'll help you understand if there's a big addressable market within the women's basketball interest. And then from there, it's like, what are the best practices from a faceless AI perspective that you can incorporate? So you're looking at popular topics that are trending with just women's basketball in general. And some of it might be news related, like what's happening recently within women's basketball that you can then report out on. Or maybe there's controversial things that are happening, trades, upsets, I don't know, things of that nature. I'm not super familiar with the niche, but that would be one thing to think through is what's trending and popular right now over the last few months. And then what are some of the ways that faceless AI channels are successful, and how can you marry those two in a way that can maybe get some traction? Ah, yes, Don. So a couple miles south of Wimbledon. Yes, we've heard of that. Steve, what's up, man? We got Wilmer Woodworks in the chat from, you say St. Pete? Or no, you're in Sarasota. So my parents are also in Sarasota. So Steve's not too far from where my family's at. Um, and then Shrinking Sylve from Kensington. Cool. So we got some Brits here. Yeah, funny enough, we've got a lot of people who follow my channel who are in my community are from Europe. Let me actually show you guys. Let me know if, I think you can see my screen. Here's my community, and here's the distribution of all my community members. And I'm actually pretty surprised by how many people there are in Europe. So we've got some Eastern Europeans and then Western as well, and then quite a few people from the UK, which is interesting to see. So it's kind of cool to see that we pick up a bit of a global audience. Um, oh yeah, so Ellen, you have family in Lakewood Ranch. That's basically where my parents moved to the last couple years. They were in Sarasota proper. They were downtown, and then I think maybe like 2 years ago, they moved to Lakewood Ranch. So a little bit further outside of Sarasota, a little bit more north, but they have a nice community there. They play golf, so kind of cool. Small world, right? I mean, like, there's all these little connections of where people are. Um, so yeah, if anyone's got any questions of anything that they're working on YouTube related, feel free to throw those in the chat and I'll be happy to answer any questions. And if there are no questions, then I thought what I might do is just show you guys kind of like my current workflow. So if there's anyone out there who is thinking of starting a YouTube channel and you haven't quite pressed record yet, or maybe you're just getting started and you're trying to figure out how should I organize things? How should I make my content? How can I just make sure I'm not overwhelming myself with all the different steps that are involved? So I thought I might just share, and you guys feel free to interrupt, ask questions, derail me by all means. But I thought I might just share a little bit about how I keep some of my stuff organized as a content creator. So just full context, I do YouTube full time. I've been doing it full time since last November. So I'm about 6 months into trying to make this YouTube thing my full time income. I'm making a little bit of money, but not quite the money I had been making in my previous job. But just to give you context on my experience and where I've been. So I started last July. So it's been a full 9, almost 10 months of doing YouTube. And over that time, I have tried to just streamline my processes and try to come up with ways that will make me more efficient and to get more done in less time. And I'm not always successful with that, but it's a work in progress, as you can imagine. So, one of the things I worked on very early on was a content calendar, and this was a way for me to organize all of the different videos that I am posting to YouTube. And that way I can come back and reflect and look at the things I've created and then try to get some ideas on future video topics. And so, as you guys might know, my niche is the YouTube growth space. So, I try to help other newer creators come up with YouTube videos and create those videos and get traction on their channels and work towards monetization and things like that. So this is what my content calendar looks like. And if I'm being honest, I sort of slacked off a little bit recently on keeping this thing updated for the last 6, 7 months. I've been pretty diligent about keeping this thing updated, but I don't know, I've sort of fallen off on keeping my systems going. And I think that's one lesson that I've been learning lately is that sometimes the systems are really, really helpful, but sometimes they can also bog you down if they're too complicated or too complex to maintain. So that would be maybe one piece of advice is to, as you're iterating and building out your systems to keep your content creation in a good flow, is try to come up with something simple that doesn't have a lot of friction built in. But anyway, what this shows me at a glance is all of the different videos I've made. They've got the dates, they've got the hyperlink to the actual YouTube video. I've got my thumbnail in here, the type of video it is, if it's like an analytics update or a live stream or some sort of review or how-to tutorial. And then I have any inspiration that I've taken. So in some cases, I've seen other videos on YouTube and I'm like, wow, that's an amazing video. I want to make my own version of that. I will use that as my source content. And then I have, just what questions I think I'm supposed to be answering in that video. And this has been helpful for me to see the ground that I've covered and also give me ideas for videos to make. So, yeah, that's a lot. I think I'm up to almost 80 videos now on my channel. Um, and I've got them all housed in here, nice and neat for the most part. Again, I did slack a little bit over the last maybe 2 weeks. I haven't gotten everything updated in here, but this could be something useful to anyone out there who needs to keep track of all of your videos. I also started keeping a victory log, and for anyone who's seen um, any recent videos of mine, you know that this is something I've been talking about. I actually learned this from I think Media. They have their Video Ranking Academy course that you can take. They talked about making a victory log, and I took that lesson quite literally, and I built one. And what this shows me essentially. Oh wait, are you guys not seeing my screen? I think I'm realizing I'm not sharing my screen. Um, can you see it now? I hope. Geez, sorry about that. Um, So, yeah, so I'm essentially keeping track in the victory log, and let me make it full screen here, of all of the different things that I've been working on, all of the small milestones, whether it's posting my first video or getting my first 10 subscribers, or maybe sending out my newsletter for the first time, things like that. Anything that's related to this process of building a YouTube channel or building a business around a YouTube channel, I've decided I would start to try and track all of that stuff. And then, of course, set future goals for myself as well. So, for example, reach 100 members in my school community is a milestone of mine, and that's a work in progress. But this could be something useful for newer folks as well to help um, just think through some of the things you want to work towards. And then as you achieve those things, you can document it and you can maybe write a sentence or two about what the experience was like. And that all serves to remind you about the ground that you've covered, all of the things that you're learning, all of the milestones that you're achieving. So this I spend just a few minutes a week on just to make sure if there's anything I've accomplished that week that is noteworthy, I'll put it in here. And it's a really nice way to keep yourself focused on your own journey and not hyper focusing on other people and comparing your channel to other channels, but just focusing on the work that you're doing and making sure that you feel good about the work that you're doing, because I think that is so important when you think about content creation in general. There's just a lot that goes into it, and it's a very long process. And so if you're not reminding yourself of all the work that you're doing, then sometimes it's easy to take it for granted. So that's another thing I have in here with my content calendar. So if anyone's got any questions on that, just pop it in the chat. I will also say, um, if anyone out there is needing help trying to figure out how to write a script or an outline for your videos, I have another document that I have been using. It is my YouTube video scripts and outline doc. And it's essentially a Google Doc that I have in my Google Drive, and it houses all of my scripts for my YouTube channel. So let me show you what it's looked like in Inception. And I know, Ellen, you recently started using this as well for yourself. But basically, here's kind of what it looks like. Make it a little bit bigger. This is a running thread of every single video that I've made for my channel and all of the scripts. So, for example, here's my very first video posted on July 19th. Here's the link for it. Here's my thumbnail. And then here's basically everything I went through in that video. I've got my hook, I've got my intro, and then I've got the value in the video. And it's all kind of broken out. And in this case, it's very much bullets. I didn't read anything word for word. I didn't hyper script it. I just kind of gave myself some bullets to go off of. And I did my best to keep to the bullets. And that in of itself is a challenge. But this was how I initially started scripting out all of my videos. And I used this little collapse button to, to hide things or to show things. And this was a really good way of staying organized. So I don't know about you guys, but for anyone out there making content, how are you guys doing your scripting? Do you have a structure in place? Do you write it on a piece of paper and then, toss it aside when you're done, or do you store it digitally somewhere? I'd love to know how you guys are keeping track of all of your scripts, because I know everyone's got their own unique style. But lately, I have been making a dedicated tab for each video script, and it follows the same thing I just showed you. So this is my next video that's going to be posting next week. Um, Lately, with my ideation, the way I'm thinking about coming up with new video topics is I'm really trying to nail the title first before I even start scripting, because I think I'm at a point now where I want to focus more on the quality elements of a video and the packaging versus just trying to get a bunch of volume posted to my channel. So at around 80 videos, I'm now just learning the lesson of how important packaging is and making sure that we have a good, effective title in advance. Same thing with the thumbnail, although I think the thumbnail might be secondary to to the title itself, at least in my niche, I believe. But lately, what I've been doing is scripting everything word for word, writing it out word for word, and then reading it back word for word, trying to memorize the line, deliver it right to camera word for word, which in of itself is pretty challenging. So, yeah, that's taking a lot of time filming because I tend to fumble and talk over myself quite a bit. and I always get the line wrong. But that's been the current strategy, is to try and be more impactful, more succinct with the writing, and you can kind of get a sense of what a script might look like for me and my channel. But yeah, I'm curious what you guys are doing as far as your scripts, and if you're writing things out word for word, or if you're making like loose bullets, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's the high level of how I've been doing my organization on the back end. So hopefully that's useful to you guys. Mm. So Lavonda, you're still scripting word for word. Yeah, so I think there's more there. Sometimes it can lead to less rambling, which I tend to do. If I have a loosely bulleted script, I can ramble quite a bit, kind of like I'm doing now in the live stream. But yeah, and that can lead to a longer video with less retention. And so I'm trying to figure out the scripting part of it and making sure that I've got good retention on the videos, and that they're shorter so that people are more inclined to click. Because I think sometimes longer videos are a little intimidating for people to want to click on. But yeah, I know there's definitely a comfort level, like you mentioned, with with trying to just riff off the cuff. I think there's some advantages though. So hear me out on this. Depending on your content style, if you're a talking head video like I am, a lot of times, there's something to be said about people watching you think through something in real time, and like kind of feeling and relating and kind of connecting with the emotion that you're trying to deliver to camera. Whereas if you have something scripted out completely, then depending on how good you are at delivering that script, it can come off robotic. And I know I'm guilty of that myself. Yeah, so Steve just said it. I feel like a robot when I script. So he does bullet points. Um yeah, it's a catch 22. I think it's like you kind of have to feel it out and pick what works well for you. But also, I think it's still good to practice different styles and try to maybe get comfortable with a variety of formats, a variety of styles, and then ultimately you can kind of figure out what's your best delivery style in the future. So for me, for the longest time, I'd been doing mostly bulleted scripts. And then lately, I've been doing these word for word read scripts. And what I'm finding is that my videos are a lot shorter when I'm reading word for word. And I'm also tightening up the pacing quite a bit in the edit as well. So, but yeah, it's all an experiment. It's all trial and error. And of course, it depends on your content style. So, um, if you are like, say, Steve, for example, who's in his wood shop and he's like kind of demoing building something, or imagine like Ellen, who's in her kitchen and she's showing how she's preparing a meal. In those cases, you're probably not scripting because it just wouldn't work. You're talking to the camera, you're kind of showing what you're working on, and it's more just like a stream of consciousness, and you're doing something in a logical order, like a step by step. So it really does depend on the content type. But yeah, it's good to try things out. Shrinking Silv, I'm a newbie, so trying to find a rhythm at the moment. I'm just rambling. I'm pretty bad, but I'll get there. Yes, join the club. Join the club because we're all in that situation, I think, to some extent. Um, it's kind of hard to not ramble sometimes because I think when you press record, it's hard to know how much time has elapsed. Like I use my iPhone to film you guys, and I don't have a timer set up elsewhere to know how long I've been talking for. So sometimes I'll just get in a mode and just start talking and like 10 minutes will pass and I'll be like, what the hell did I even just say? And so that makes editing a bit of a challenge. And it also sometimes loses the viewer interest. So just something to be mindful of. But I will say, speaking off the cuff is one of those skills that you can develop and get better at. I hope for myself, I've gotten a little bit better in time. But yeah, it's just, you got to practice, you got to do it, you got to put in those reps. And then I think what you'll find is you start to develop a talk track around certain topics, and those then start to come out much more naturally. Um, yeah, so sitting sideways, basically with a faceless channel, yeah, you're gonna be using a script and you're gonna be doing your research. Yeah. Um, create an outline. Yeah, exactly. So I think with a faceless channel, you're more deliberate with delivery, right? Especially if you're are you just sitting I'm curious, are you recording your own voice? Are you reading your own script or are you using AI for that as well? So you're using Chat GPT for your outline, which is good. I use Chat GPT all the time for my outlines. You can probably tell because the way I organize my scripts. But yeah, Chat GPT is great for if you are trying to figure out a good structure for your video. It can help you think through that. And then, of course, you add in your own experience and your own perspective. But yeah, Prodigal says streaming forces you to organize your thoughts. Yes, very much so. And it's pretty easy on stream too to ramble and go off topic or go down rabbit holes. So, curious, you guys, with the latency that I've set to low, let me know if the video and the audio is coming through okay. I'm curious to know if that's actually impacting the quality of the stream. So, sitting sideways says regarding your script. No, you're actually reading it. You thought about using AI, but, wanted the podcast to have a man actual have a piece of you and not, yeah, exactly. So adding, like, that human element to it. And you know what's crazy is I actually follow a AI channel, and they do, it's all, like, AI B-roll or just, like, images and animations, but they do use an AI voice, and it's pretty, like, monotonous, but I will tell you, it sounds so real and so human. Um, so thanks, Ellen, good to see you. Have a great one. Ellen, I think you have a live stream today too, so, good luck to you on that. And thanks, Steve, for the feedback there, but, yeah, some of the AI voices, they're getting to sound pretty realistic. I'm in a year or 2, it's like, I think you're gonna have a hard time distinguishing. So, life is beautiful. Some tips on cooking channels. Curious if you have a question in there because I might have a thought or two on cooking channels, seeing as though I've worked with Ellen who has a cooking channel. But let me know what questions you have there. So, Sitting, you're worried about the AI voices disappearing? I'm curious what you mean by that. So, life is beautiful. Question about how can we grow from a cooking channel as a business? That is a great question. I'm curious to know if you've done any research on cooking channels that you watch or admire to understand a little bit about their business model. Because I've done a little bit of research on this topic myself, both for my niche and, in fact, the cooking niche as well. I believe there was some. There are cookbooks you could probably make and sell either digitally or, via hard product if you want to have the book actually developed. That might be more work. There's certainly, through the YouTube Partner Program, there is the traditional AdSense, which you can put on your videos once you're monetized. You can do channel memberships as well if that's something you've thought about, and have people join as a monthly subscriber, and then you can give them either behind the scenes videos or like maybe custom recipes or things like that. Um, yeah, and then I think I mean, this is kind of just me spitballing here, but Maybe part of the cooking channel is helping people become healthier, and maybe there's a community element to that as well. And you can pull people in. They can be part of some sort of maybe paid membership community where you can help people orient their diets a little bit towards better eating. And you can use your YouTube channel as a way to pull people into that business potentially. And then even coaching. And again, this is me kind of speaking through my own lens because I do coaching for people creating a YouTube channel. Is maybe you have people who are in dire need of one-on-one support to help fix their diet or to lose weight, or maybe they have a health issue and you're familiar with the health issue and you know what kind of foods or diet they should incorporate. That could be something that you work with individuals on. Now, of course, I think there's something to be said there about being a trained professional, like a dietitian or a medical professional. So you have to kind of balance all of that and make sure you're not dipping into a gray area. But I would maybe make a short list of 5 people in the cooking space on YouTube and dig into their descriptions and look for any hyperlinks that they have that link out to their website. They may have a recipe guide that you can sign up for. You give them your email and you get the guide. That could be a way of generating an email list. So there's a variety of ways you can, use your YouTube audience to, build an email list, send them out to a landing page, offer a digital product like a cookbook, pull them into a paid community, or offer one-on-one individual support for people that need it. So those are just some initial thoughts that I have around that. But I'd be curious, if you could maybe tell us a little bit more about what kind of cooking you're doing on your channel, if it's specific to a cuisine or a certain diet type, things of that nature. Also, there's sponsorships too. If your channel gets big enough, you may find that, hey, if there's a specific utensil or appliance in the kitchen that works well for your channel, you may get some sponsorship opportunities to pull in those products and plug those. Also, there's merchandise, maybe a custom apron or some other custom or channel branded apparel that you can link to your YouTube channel, and people could buy that and wear it in the kitchen themselves. So there's a lot of things to think through, but I think some of it might be coming down to doing a little bit of research on it. Um, so sitting sideways, you had mentioned you were worried about AI voices will disappear. So, like for example, 11 Labs does AI voices. So if you pick one and then the website goes out of business, then you're kind of hosed. I get that. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a concern. There's so many AI products out there, websites, companies doing all kinds of unique and novel things, and it's like you never know who's going to make it and who's not. But I'm sure if 11 Labs were to go out of business, there'd be a million others that would pop up in its place. So that I don't know if I would worry too much about that. But um, Focused Up says, I feel like AI is just not as real feeling as a connection. Yeah, I agree with that. But I also think it depends too on the content style. I think sometimes, almost like for um, like knowledge reporters. Like I've seen some crypto channels, for example. So I don't know if anyone out there follows any crypto news, but there's always a lot of movement in the crypto space because it's so volatile. But there are some channels on YouTube that are completely AI and faceless. And primarily what they do is they report out on all of the things happening in the crypto space. And they'll use an AI voice. And then, of course, they'll bring in some B roll of, some hedge fund manager talking about bringing in Bitcoin or whatever. But when you're just reporting out on information, sometimes you don't need to have that real human connection. Of course, again, I say all of this couched in the idea that it depends on the niche and it depends on the content style. So I think the AI voice, can work in some niches, but not in others. Um, Life is beautiful. So I'm asking like a beginner guide. Beginner is unaware of so many things like a website, course, books. It's a lot of work for a beginner. Yeah, it is. That's the thing about YouTube. The more you do it, the more you try to maybe monetize, the more you realize how many different avenues there are to explore. And a lot of it takes, some intentional study to figure out and some work to get stood up. So it's a bit of a work in progress, but one step at a time. Health and wealth. I'm having a hard time finding a sponsorship. My finance channel has had a bunch of crypto related people reach out. Yeah, I'd be curious to learn more about that too, because um, those it's hard to know what's legitimate and what could be potentially a scam or a spam, or even like an illegitimate or gray area crypto product, because the regulation around it is so iffy these days. But I'm curious what other types of sponsorships you might be interested in. I think maybe as the channel grows, um, yeah, I'm trying to think what other in the finance space other sponsors might be. I think like different different applications for investing. Like I've seen, what is it? Webull is one. Rocket Money is another one. Those might be apps that maybe have affiliate programs that you might be able to plug. I don't know. I'm kind of just spitballing out loud here, but yeah, the crypto ones I would be a little bit skeptical about. You're interested in anything that pays you. I hear that. Yeah, I think for smaller YouTubers, by the way, this is something I'm experiencing myself, is every now and then someone will reach out to me about a sponsorship, and I'll look at the product that they're talking about, and it will have nothing to do with my channel or my niche or my audience. And so that's a hard pass for me every time, because whatever it is, if there is a sponsorship opportunity, it should legitimately provide value to the audience. So that's one thing you guys might experience, um, is like you might get reached out for random things that have nothing to do with your channel. So I would encourage you to be, uh, probably to not go down that rabbit hole and do something that might make your audience think twice. Like, hey, why is he talking about this thing? Like, this doesn't make sense for his channel. So, um, So Sitting Sideways says, for me, the biggest time is spent on curating the videos. I use the video clips in CapCut to stitch together with minimal but engaging effects. Yeah, the editing part, I would imagine for a faceless channel, the editing part is probably the most amount of work. So I also use CapCut. Um, but yeah. And then Life is Beautiful. I have another question, like how to get emails, how to make it if you're a complete beginner and not tech savvy. Okay, I'll give you my high level of how I did my email list. Let me share my screen really quick. Here is my Canva. So I don't know if you use Canva or not, but for those of you who do use Canva for things like thumbnails, you can also use Canva to find a really nice template that you can use for a freebie. So the way a lot of people build an email list is by giving their viewer some free document like a PDF, a checklist, a how-to guide, a quick start guide, something like that. So what I decided to do for my channel is say, hey, let me figure out what my audience might want from me that I can provide for free. And so I came up with, where is it? I came up with this. Oops, that's the wrong one. I came up with this. So this is a document, and the template for this document lives in Canva. So everything you're seeing here, like all of the formatting, I I basically took it from Canva. It's a template that you can use. And then of course, I came in here, added my pictures, added my branding, my colors, and I changed all the copy. Now, this document I think is like 12 pages. You don't have to make yours 12 pages. You can make a two-page checklist or whatever you think your viewers might benefit from. If you have some knowledge and you can package that up nice and neat, then you can create a PDF directly using Canva. And then you can basically add that to your website or whatever email marketing tool you're using. And then in the description of your videos, you can basically say, hey, if you want my free checklist, click the link here. It'll redirect them to their website. And then you can grab their email and then provide the free checklist. So that's among the most common ways people are getting email addresses for their newsletter. So you can spend as much time or as little time on this as you want, but the idea is it should be valuable to your viewer in some way. And so I would suggest thinking about who in your viewership is among the newest, who needs the most help, and that might cast a broader net in terms of who might want that free giveaway. So I made this 7-step framework for how to grow on YouTube, and it basically just documents my experience of having started a channel and the things that I went through, and kind of just some preliminary new beginner steps that people should take into consideration when starting a channel. So this was a really good way for me to build my newsletter. I think I'm almost at 200 emails on my newsletter now, and I try to send out an update about once a week just to say, provide some value and input and whatever it is, and maybe get some feedback from the audience as well. But I hope that answers the question a little bit about how to capture emails for a newsletter. There's a variety of ways to do it, but this is probably the most common. So Life is Beautiful. I just saw one of your videos and subscribed. Cool. I feel your videos are honest, maybe, or hopefully honest. I'm not trying to do anything dishonest, but I appreciate the feedback. Um, Carolyn says, Simon Sinek, know your why and stay true to yourself. Your viewers are there for you. I love that. Focused Up is asking about hashtags. Do we think hashtags matter? I don't know, you guys. What do you think? Do you think hashtags matter? I tend to think they don't. Um, Hold on, let me make sure this is coming up. I do hashtags in my descriptions of my videos, but I don't know that they matter all that much. I know when you upload a video, you are often asked for hashtags. Thanks, health and wealth. But I think I don't know, I think they're a bit antiquated at this point. I think even YouTube says that the hashtags are really only there to help when there are like misspellings or typos, which I don't quite understand. But I'll just show you really quick how I do use hashtags. So if we come into, let me share my screen again. We'll come into my YouTube studio, and in content, we'll come to one of my videos. What I'll normally do when I upload a video to YouTube is I will have ChatGPT generate some hashtags for me. And you can see those hashtags are right here. And so I'll have it generate the hashtags based off of the transcript of the video. So ChatGPT will have already read the transcript. It knows what the content is about. And then I will use their hashtags right here. And that's pretty much it. And then also when you upload down here, I'll include these hashtags. But again, I don't put much thought into them. What I find interesting, though, is when you actually go into the video, those hashtags will, the first 3 hashtags that you pick in your description will show up here at the top. So I don't know, you guys can see this. Let me get rid of this comment here. So you can kind of see how they're showing up right here at the top. And basically what you can do with these are hyperlinks you can click on. So for example, if I were to click on hashtag CapCut, this is going to do a search on YouTube for hashtag CapCut, and it's going to serve up all of the other videos that also have that same hashtag. So in a way, the hashtags can be used for search. If you want to search for a specific topic or a category, you can use that hashtag to do that search. So hopefully that makes sense, but I never really use that functionality, but it's there in YouTube. Andy, welcome. Also from the UK. Carolyn says, I make sure 3 hashtags are there. I also include extra tags for SEO. Um, I don't care what they say. SEO never hurts anyone. Right. Agreed. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think there's also some schools of thought on SEO too, depending on your content. If you're making content with the intent of it being discoverable through search, then having good SEO is important. If you're making content that you want to post and get a lot of browse traffic on, then I don't think SEO is all that important because the algorithm will do its job to push out that content and put it in front of the right viewers. And then once all those viewers consume it and there's no more correct viewers, then the video in a lot of cases just dies unless there is a lot of evergreen appeal to that content. And then at that point, SEO is really important. So it just depends on if your content is searchable or not. What's the most important criteria to know if you are on the right path as far as YouTube growth is concerned? Like uh, parameters around views. That's a good question. I don't know if there's a real answer for that. I would say number one, it just depends on what your goals are, what you're shooting towards. Um, and I don't know. That's kind of a loaded question, but I would say, are you feeling good about your progress? How do you feel about the journey that you're on? Do you feel like you're getting better? Do you feel like you're learning more? And do you feel like you're evolving and challenging yourself? Because I would think one thing a lot of people do, and I put myself in this category, is we might find a rhythm for content creation, and then we might sit there for a long time and not do anything to stretch ourselves or get us out of our comfort zone. And when we hit that plateau, then we might find that our channel isn't growing as quickly. Because I think with YouTube and like really anything in life that you want to get really good at, it requires constant forward movement of just challenging yourself, um, deep study, trying to figure out what's working and what's not, and always trying to innovate and improve and iterate and take that next step. Like for me doing a live stream, this is a uncomfortable next step for me. This is something I've always wanted to do consistently, but I've always been scared to do it. I've always worried about the technology. I've always worried about being interesting to talk to, with you guys chatting and me trying to answer questions. I worry about my value being here. But I know that's a limiting belief. And I know that live streaming is a skill that you can get better at in time. So, with that said, what are you doing to push yourself out of your comfort zone? What are your inputs? What are you consuming? And as long as you are, making those steps in a good faith attempt, then I think your content will get better as well. So I know that's a very abstract, high level answer to your question, but I hope it's helpful. I think as far as views go, um, sometimes the views don't tell the whole story. And I'll look at my channel, for example, and some of my videos don't get very many views. But I know that these types of videos are more utility videos. They're good to have in my library because people will come to them in time. Whereas other videos are designed to get mass viewership. So the views don't always tell the full story, but I think maybe it's the retention that you can look at. If you have low retention on your videos, that might be a sign that the videos need to be either tightened up from a pacing perspective, they need to be more impactful. You need to keep the viewer interested for longer. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. All right, let me come back to the chat here. Um, Kevin, too hard. Hello, new YouTubers. Meta AI for them. Okay. Always look to evolve, switch things up. I agree. It's always good to experiment. Um, Mohammed is asking, why am I getting so many views but almost zero subscribers? Hmm. How many views are you getting? I'm curious. And if you're doing shorts, the shorts tend to get more views than long form, but the shorts also tend to convert people into subscribers. So, without looking at your channel, I would have no way of helping you answer that question. But it's curious to know why you're getting a lot of views. Curious what a lot of views are for you. Um, so Life is Beautiful also asking about equipment. for cooking channels. Again, I'm probably not the right person to answer this question, but look at your competitors. Look at the other cooking channels, and maybe in their descriptions, they may have different equipment that they're using. I would think you might need to have a camera specifically on you. You might need to have, or like a wide shot camera. It might be helpful to have an overhead if you're going to be preparing food and like cooking and like showing the pots and pans and all of that stuff. But I would just try to model what your competitors are doing initially, just to get some ideas for some emulation, and then see what you can do with the equipment that you have. I will tell you, you are perfectly capable of creating a cooking video that is worthy of 10,000 plus views using just your iPhone, because I've seen it. I've seen other creators make really great cooking tutorials using just a smartphone, and it works. You just have to get a little bit creative, figure out your angles, and just practice. So you don't need fancy equipment. You can definitely get started with what you have. So Living with Parkinson's says all of my videos are going to be live recordings. I'm curious to learn more about that too, actually. Are you thinking live streams like I'm doing right now? Or are you thinking of maybe there's like an interview or a talk that's been done that was recorded and you're just going to upload that as a video? That would be interesting to know. Kevin's saying, I have been doing live streams daily for 3 years. Can say when it comes naturally. First year might feel a bit cringe. We all go through, but the supporters boost your confidence because they look forward to seeing you. That's the hope. So thank you for sharing that, by the way, because that's very reassuring. And yeah, I'm pretty aware that like I think with a lot of people doing something new, something for the first time, and especially when you're broadcasting yourself out to the world, right? And you have people joining and they don't know you. You always want to make a good impression. There's always nerves and jitters and anxiety that comes with it. But it's good to know that it gets easier with time, and that's kind of what I'm relying on, is that I'll get better at this as we go. So thank you for saying that. Um, Life is beautiful. Again, asking how often should we change our methods of editing? Does it make any difference? Does the audience get bored of the same editing methods? Um, I think it's always good to innovate. And I think it's always good to try new things out. And it's always good to take inspiration from other channels whose editing you really admire. And my editing has evolved a lot over the last 9 months. And I'm sure it's going to continue to evolve as well. But you can also, if you want to get really granular about it, you can look at your retention graphs in your videos, and you can try to figure out, like, are there things in, well, this is, I don't know, it's kind of hard to infer because the retention graphs just tell you when your viewer is interested in the video, and it doesn't necessarily indicate interest in the editing. It could be the content. And more often than not, it's the content itself, not the editing. I would say the editing should be something that only adds subtly to the video and doesn't serve as a distraction. It should create a little bit of visual movement. It should tighten up the pacing to make it flow a little bit better. But I think it's worth experimentation. And I'll tell you, some of my best performing videos on my channel have had no editing at all. It's just been me talking, very similar to what I'm doing right now, where I just got the mic in front of me and I press record and I'm sort of just shooting the stuff, talking about whatever's on my mind. Some of those videos get really good views because it connects more emotionally with the audience. Now, again, that may or may not work for you and your niche, but that's just to give you an idea that videos do not live and die by their edits. I think they live and die by how well they connect emotionally with the viewer. So that's my 2 cents on that. Um, yeah, so living with Parkinson's, I love that. If you feel like you want to primarily do live streams as your whole content strategy, that's I haven't seen anybody really doing that. I'm sure there are people on YouTube who really don't make very many long or shorts. They just do a lot of live streams. And I think there's a lot of value in doing that. And you might build, what you might find is that you might build a really loyal viewer base of people who come to those live streams and support you in that way. And I think that's wonderful. I think if you can build a community around that, that's a really good um, it's a really good, I think, strategy to try out, especially if you don't want to mess around with editing or scripting out your videos, but you just have to make sure, um, that the live streams are in some way valuable to your viewers. But I think that's a really cool idea. Got a question from Alan. Hey, Alan. What are your thoughts on channel branding? Lots of people just use their name while others don't. So, like Casey Neistat versus Mr. Beast. I think honestly, it doesn't really matter. This is, again, my novice perspective. Take it with a grain of salt. I think it doesn't really matter. Some people will say use your name and develop a personal brand. But if you want to not use your name for whatever reason, if you like the idea of having a branded name, that's cool too. It just goes to show you that, like the examples you gave, right? Mr. Beast, that was a name he came up with when he was like 12 years old. And now this guy is almost 400 million subscribers on YouTube. So, what does it tell you about the importance of names that a 12-year-old can come up with a name and it eventually reach the pinnacle of YouTube success? So, my instinct is that it doesn't matter. Kevin has a great suggestion. If you're curious about your audience, use a post to do polls, and that way you'll get feedback from your audience. Yeah, I think polls, people love doing polls in the community posts. So that's a really good suggestion. Something I haven't really been doing a ton of. I should probably do more of that, but it's a good way to get feedback and to see what's on the mind of your audience, and that might help also inform content strategy too in some cases. So good observation, good feedback there. Were there any questions that I missed? And by the way, thank you guys for being here and hanging out with me and spending some time. I For those of you who I haven't met, my name is Ty, by the way. I'm in the US, in Denver, Colorado. I've been doing this YouTube thing for 9, 10 months, and I've been doing it full time. I've got almost 80 videos posted on my channel. I've got a really great community of people that I just love talking to every single week. Some of them are here in the chat with us. And yeah, just it's been a fun ride. And my whole shtick, my whole channel, as you can probably tell, is all about YouTube education and trying to figure out, um, yeah, trying to figure out how to help people, how to get them to get off their butts, make their YouTube channel, post their first videos, and then ultimately how to grow their YouTube channels. Because I know it's daunting. Because when I first started, I was terrified. Um, oh, you were just in Denver. Okay, cool. Were you here for work or for vacation? Let me know. Sitting sideways. But yeah, I know how challenging it can be to start a YouTube channel. And then once you get started, there's just so many things to think about. There's a lot of variables, a lot of strategies, and a lot of questions that you invariably will have. So, one of the things I recommend for anyone watching who's been asking questions in the chat, let me know the answer to this question. Do you have a community of people that you work with, that you talk to about YouTube, that if you have a question, you can ask the question to them? Or if you have a really good video blow up on your channel that you can get, hey, I have this really great video. It's got a lot of views. I'm really excited. Is there people in your life that can be that person for you? And if not, I would really encourage you to find a community. And whether that's maybe my channel or other channels, find a group of people that you can interact with regularly to help out with this whole adventure of doing YouTube, because it's pretty challenging, and doing it by yourself can be lonely and isolating. And I think the learning curve is lengthened when you're trying to do it in a vacuum. So that's my encouragement and advice, is to try and find other people who are walking that same path with you, so that you can have a partner in crime and do this YouTube thing in collaboration with others. Uh yes. And Carolyn, Nobody is as scarfed as me having lost everything starting over again. So Carolyn is amazing, you guys. And if you're interested in hearing a story of someone who's done something completely unique and novel and bold, and I would just say ballsy, someone who has the courage to act on their dreams despite the whole world saying that they're crazy. Go follow her channel because she's doing something really, really impressive. And she started her channel and it blew up. She was this close to getting monetized. And then there was a technical issue where she lost her channel and she had to start over from scratch and re upload all of her videos. And of course, it didn't hit the algorithm in the same way. So her channel did not blow up a second time. And now she is clawing her way back, slowly but surely, one video at a time, with the persistence of, I don't know, a cheetah chasing a gazelle because she is so determined. It's really inspiring to watch. So, Carolyn, thank you for being here and thank you for showing us that it's entirely possible to keep going despite those setbacks. Um, so you were at Limelight. What's Limelight? Yes, lots of hiking and lots of eating. That's things that people do here in Denver, specifically the hiking. But I want to know what Limelight is. Downtown? Hmm. Um, So Health and Wealth says, you know what I used of yours yesterday? The typing animation of the graphic. Oh, yeah, the typing sounds. Yep, yep. Yeah. Yeah, I hope these let me know you guys if any of my editing tutorials are helpful because one of the things I'm enjoying about YouTube is editing, which it's a mixed bag because it takes so long to do, but it's also fun to learn. And I really like sharing some of the, editing techniques that I'm learning. So if you're in CapCut, um, it's a pretty easy program to use and it's free. And you can use it on your computer and you can use it on your mobile app. Um, but yeah, I'm finding that I like making these little miniature tutorials on some of the stuff that I'm working on in CapCut. And I provide a lot of those to my community members, but every now and then I'll post one to my YouTube channel. But yeah, Alan, I think it's almost 1 o'clock or maybe after 1 o'clock your time. So thank you for being here. I hope I'm not getting in the way of you getting a good night's rest. So, but I appreciate you stopping by and hanging with us for a little bit. So, okay, so the Limelight Sitting was the hotel downtown. Yeah, I'm not familiar, but you came at a good time of year. Hopefully the weather was nice while you were here. It's warming up a little bit today and the sun's finally out. And then Steve is mentioning the description template that that I made. So yeah, here's another thing. If you guys are interested, let me just share really quick here. So for anyone that needs help with their YouTube video descriptions, I made a template that includes what I use in mine. And I'll put a link for it in the description of this live stream once it becomes a video on demand. Actually, let me see if I can find the link for it now. Stand by. But it just gives you a really clean description template that you can use or borrow ideas from and use for yourself. So I'll put that in the chat for anyone who wants it. Hold on. Hopefully that link works for you guys. Let me know if it doesn't. But I think we're a little over an hour here. Bill, yes, she's awesome. Yeah, so a bit of a snafu with the channel. She had it and then it vanished. And very sad because she was so close to getting monetized and she had, oh, it says access to, can you request access or, hmm. Hold on one sec. Let me unlock it. It's restricted right now. I'll do anyone with a link. Copy link. Okay, try one more time. It should I set it up so that anyone with the link can access it. Hopefully it works. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you guys. But Bill, yeah, she's here in the chat. So say hello to Carolyn and make sure you follow her channel now that she's back on YouTube with all of her videos, because she has a really exciting story. And I think what's really exciting about Carolyn too is this, like, the evolution and transformation of the property that she purchased and all of the things that she's going to be doing to make it more livable. And I think that's it's going to be a really exciting journey to watch. So Carolyn, I hope I'm not plugging your channel too much, but I'm just super impressed with what you're doing. um, yeah, let me find it. Give me 1 second. I'll share her link. Or Carolyn can share it too, probably, but I'll find it first. There it is. So, yeah, so any other questions, you guys? Anything else on your mind? Yeah, Bill, and get on her newsletter too, because in the event there's another snafu, you'll at least still have access to her via email. Just kidding, Carolyn. I know you're not going to have another issue. So, but cool. Well, I think there was a question earlier. I forget if it was Mohammed or Bill that asked about me doing a live stream every week. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I do a live stream every week? I kind of wanted to get into the habit of doing this more so I can get better at it, provide more value, and share more about what I'm learning. But I want to make sure it's a good use of time. Hey, Ricky, how are you? Steve's asking, do I use a regular camera or just an iPhone? Yeah. So Steve, check this out. This is what I use. This is all I've used for the last 80 videos, just my iPhone. And I've got this set up with the continuity camera with my eCam. And so that's what's picking me up. I will eventually get a real camera because I want to have something that's just dedicated to just, a single use device type of thing. But for now, I'm holding off. I'm resisting the urge to spend money on equipment that I don't really need. I think what I'm going to do, you guys, is when I get to my 100th video, I'm going to celebrate by buying myself a real camera, like a Sony or something like that. So if anyone has a recommendation on a camera I should be looking at, let me know, because I have my eyes set on the Sony, what is it, the ZV-E10 Mark II. But I'm thinking that I'll have to do some more research on it. But I want to hit that 100th video milestone before I spend money. But yeah, 80 videos using my iPhone. I'm ready. I'm ready for something new. Sitting sideways. I really need to get over being on camera. I feel like that's the way to go for me. I I get that. That's a real issue. Getting over the fact, like, is it the fear of being on camera? Is it not knowing how to speak on camera? Let me know what else is holding you back. One thing I did early on that you might find useful, and this is for anyone out there who's struggling with camera confidence, is every morning for about 3 months, I would, like, this was last summer, so it was warm out in the morning. I'd go for a walk. And when I come back from my walk, I would turn on my phone and I would record myself talking for like 3 to 5 minutes. And I didn't have anything prepared. It was just whatever was on my mind. If I was feeling good about the day so far, or if I was feeling bad about something, I would just talk. And the the small action of pressing record and trying to stare at the lens, it seems like a very small thing to do. But when you do it every day for 3 months, you it starts to become second nature and you start to not be as terrible at it. So, what you might want to do is just incorporate a daily routine of talking directly to your camera so that you can get used to that discomfort. And eventually, you just become numb to it and you can just do it without really caring. So, that would be my advice. Try that out in the morning, whenever you're feeling up to it. Just hit the dumb record button, set it down, sit back in your chair, start talking, and then you can delete it off your phone. Certainly don't worry about sharing it or doing anything, but you can just go through that motion, that exercise. I think that'll be helpful. Okay, so Carolyn's suggesting a lesson as well as the chat. That's good. Steve needs help with his camera settings. So, so I'm with you on that. I've looked at some of the camera settings, and there's just like it's like mind blown, right? There's just so many things to think about with the exposure and the white balance and the ISO and like just getting all the lighting right. It's a lot to think about. There are some really good tutorials out there, Steve. Do you know content Anthony Gallo from Content Creators? I think that's the channel name. He does a really good breakdown of the different camera settings that are useful for YouTubers. I'll try to find the link for that video and I'll send it over. So, Auntie Ruth is asking, is there a way to edit a video that is already up? So, yes and no. Oh, and you're from North Carolina. So, welcome. Good to see you. Let me show you actually, uh, um, Auntie Ruth, because the answer is really no. But in your YouTube studio, let me make this a little bit bigger. In the YouTube studio, um, do you have this editor option here on the left side? And it's very, very limited. And it's very, very crude and difficult to work with. So if you do come in here to make any kind of edit, be very, very careful because it's entirely possible you can make a mistake. There's a trim tool in here that I haven't actually used myself. But what you can do is you can trim and cut certain things out. Um, but it's very difficult to get the timing correctly, and you might not be able to trim it down to the exact frame that you want to trim. So it may be one of those things where I really don't encourage people to use it, but this is one option that you have. So for example, if at the end of your video there happens to be 30 seconds of dead air and you're just like, I don't know how that made it into the final cut. I want to edit that out. You can go all the way to the end and you can kind of trim out that final 30 seconds of dead air. Or if there's like dead air somewhere in between, or maybe you completely messed up a section, you can try and trim that out. But what will be left is just the parts before and after the trim. So if they don't mesh well together, then the edit that you make in the trim might actually be detrimental to the video versus just leaving in what you have. So I hope that answers that question. Yes, Anthony Gallo is great. He's super knowledgeable. Mohammed's asking, could I recommend a affordable camera for complete beginners? Um, I would say your iPhone. Do you have a smartphone? Do you have an iPhone already? Because that's if you already have one, then you're ready to go. I use my iPhone 15 and it has 4K and it has cinematic mode so that you get the blurry background if you need it. And you can shoot in 30 or 60 frames per second. So, depending on what kind of content you're making, I think a smartphone is going to do just fine for a brand new creator. If you really want to get like a professional camera, Again, I don't have any experience with professional cameras, but what I do see a lot of creators do is they buy the Sony ZV-E10. The Mark One is still available, and I think it's like 700 bucks. So I don't know if that's necessarily beginner budget friendly, but the Mark Two version is closer to $1,000. Um, but when you think of a camera, also there's all the other things that have to come with it. So you might need to think about a lens. You might have to think about the SD card, an extra battery, your microphone for that camera. So there's a lot of other things that can add up in cost over time. And then yeah, Coffee and Mike makes a really good recommendation. There are all-in-one devices out there for content creation, like the Osmo Pocket 3 if you want to spend a little bit of money. But DJI makes some really good stuff. I think some of it gets mixed reviews, but I think for the most part, they're on the right track with some of their products. But I don't know what you mean by affordable, like a $200 or $300 camera. I don't really know because I've just been using my iPhone for the last 9 months. So Ricky mentions I've been out of the loop for a few months. I saw your beginnings with when Alexa's school started. Are you doing it full time now? We're getting close. Yes, Ricky, I am. So I've been doing YouTube full time now since last November. I quit my day job of almost 20 years to do YouTube, which is pretty crazy and kind of dumb, to be honest. But yeah, I decided I would give this a shot. I'm in my mid 40s and I'm in a situation where I could try and build a business around a YouTube channel and grow it and work for myself. So that's what I've been up to for the last 6, 7 months now at this point, doing it full time. But yeah, I'm still in touch with Alexa and I'm still part of her school community and she's still doing amazing, amazing things. So I think she's close to 40,000 subscribers now as well. She's been a bit of a role model for me. She was my coach and mentor for about 6 months. So yeah, hopefully you said you've been out of the loop. So, maybe you're back into the swing of things in terms of making content. So yeah, let us know. Mike says you can shoot in log format and then use DaVinci or for free, and you can color grade. Yeah, that's something I haven't quite figured out yet. One of the things, Mike, I have problems with when I shoot on my iPhone is I think it's the auto white balancing that kicks in because I use a lot of when I film. I don't really use a light. I use just all the natural light coming into the windows. And if clouds roll through as I'm recording, of course, the natural light dims. And then I think it affects the white balance in my shot. So sometimes you'll notice my my shot is like cool and then warm and then back to cool. So that's something I haven't figured out. But I know that the Blackmagic app that you can get on your iPhone is supposedly a really nice step up from the default iPhone camera. But again, more settings than I'm quite ready for. I'm just trying to see if there's any questions that I had missed. It doesn't look like it. Well, I think we're gonna call it a morning or an afternoon, depending on where you're sitting. But I want to thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. And yeah, feel free to leave a comment on the video once it goes live if there's anything that you want to chat more about. And I might end up scheduling another one for this time next week. So yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, Ricky. Thanks for being here. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Now I just need to figure out how to end the stream. uh Yeah. Determination, that's for sure. I'm determined to make this work. So until next time, have a great day, have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much.